Hello everyone. Happy Labor Day. I'm laboring on Labor Day, like I always have to, because we always have a meeting the first Tuesday of September. But interestingly, I just read a little blip, and I'll have to read some more about it. Grover Cleveland, back in the 1880s, 94, I think, signed it to create and establish September, or the first Monday in September, as Labor Day, when actually most countries around the globe celebrated on May 1st, but it's related to kind of an uprising event from laborers, and so he thought that was too anarchist, and so pushed it to September because it was a more palatable day to celebrate Labor Day. So no such thing as unskilled labor. Happy Labor Day to all of our laborers, and thank you for joining me. So we'll get started on the agenda. We have a few items. They're all going to be, all of the voting items are going to be on our consent agenda, which means as long as we get to cover all of them during our work session, then we'll just vote on them all together at our regular meeting. But we do have two public hearings, and then we have two ordinances to vote on, and those will be separate from the consent agenda. So the first thing is we'll have some employee recognitions. We have a couple of firefighters, one that got promoted internally, and then a new firefighter that joined us fairly recently, but was unable to come to one of our meetings. His shift didn't work out, so we're finally able to bring them in and just recognize them and welcome them to the Red Bank team, and congratulate our captain on his promotion. And then item number 2 is approve the city's tax relief match subject to annual budgetary availability. So this isn't new. We actually voted on this in our budget this year, but as everybody may or may not know, we vote on our budget, but then when it comes time to actually make an expenditure that's in that budget, it still has to come back before the commission, and we have to vote on it formally to approve that actual expenditure. So this one is a little different because we are the first municipality in Hamilton County to match tax relief for our seniors and for our veterans. So we were a little new to the process, and our understanding at the time that we voted on the budget was that the state or the county just withheld those revenues from us and then returned them to the resident who qualified. But it turns out actually we have to cut them checks. So they will pay their tax bill, and then the state sends the portion back that they meet for tax relief. The county sends them a check for the county's portion, and then we, Red Bank, will cut a check to each individual applicant. So it's more of a reimbursement. They get reimbursed up to a certain percentage, and it depends on how they qualify. This is a formula that's calculated by the state. But all of that to say, it's just we just are voting on actually approving that process because tax bills will start to come out in October, and then we'll start getting payments after that. So we're going to have to basically on a monthly basis issue checks to whoever has qualified for that tax relief on a monthly basis. Item number 3 is approved purchase of fire hose from Tennessee Fire Equipment in the amount of $27,220. This was budgeted for. Our fire chief has actually just spread this out over several years. I think we started this maybe 2 years ago. So he's budgeting for, like 5,000 feet 1 year, and then the next year another 5,000 feet, and so on. So I think the fire hose is only good for 20 years, and this is like well beyond that, so we're just working on replacing it in chunks. Item number 4 is approved purchase of Striker powered stair chair at a cost not to exceed $16,481. So this was also budgeted. This was like a special item, a one-time expenditure that our fire department asked for in their budget this year. They get a lot of phone calls for non-medical emergencies for folks who have fallen down and can't get back up their stairs, back to their bedroom or whatever, things like that. We have a lot of phone calls like that. And so this is a device that's battery powered, and it's a chair that they are able to strap the person into, and then it actually propels up. One firefighter is behind it, one is in front of it, and then it propels up the stairs, so that our firefighters aren't having to break their backs helping people get up and down the stairs when they get these kinds of calls. And like I said, it's this one-time expense, and then they'll get to use this for many, many years to come to help our residents who need that help in home when it's not a medical emergency. Item number 5, authorized purchase of pedestrian crosswalk safety lighting. So this is just a little bit over $35,000. It was budgeted. It's coming out of our state street aid fund. So we have 5 of those pedestrian crosswalk islands. I'm trying to think where the northernmost one is. Around Daytona somewhere, I think. And then south throughout the city along Dayton Boulevard. We've had improvements that we have made over the years since those were installed. Like after I got elected, we made sure that we budgeted to add lighting to them. We added the buttons that you could push, but we're still having folks, unfortunately, just because the nature of the design of the roadway is not safe for pedestrians to cross over 4 lanes of vehicle traffic plus a turn lane. So what this budgeted expense is going to be for is for additional signs, lighted signs that are ahead of those pedestrian crosswalk islands, for more visibility and more warning to vehicle drivers, like, hey, this is coming up, hey, you're approaching a crosswalk, please pay attention, look for flashing lights for an actual pedestrian in the crosswalk. So that's what that is. And then item number 6, accept the Arts Build Communities grant in an amount not to exceed $2,500. So actually at our last meeting, we actually voted on applying for this grant, and then this meeting we're voting on accepting it. So yay, very exciting. $2,500. This is going to cover almost the entire expense for 4 additional utility box art wraps. Like we have the 4 that we installed last year. Gosh, was it last year? Early last year. But these are going to be coming from students at our Red Bank schools. So I'm very excited about that. Our public art board is working with the schools right now. They're going to take submissions, and then they're going to choose 4. And then this grant is going to cover most of the cost of that installation. So it's very exciting. We're going to have more art wraps on our more public art, more art wraps on the utility boxes, and it's going to be coming from our own Red Bank students. Item number 7, accept the Community Cultural Connections Grant not to exceed $2,000, non-matching. That is another one that we voted on applying for last time, and we also received that one. So thank you so much to Arts Build for supporting us in our efforts toward adding public art and public art classroom opportunities. That grant is actually going to cover art supplies for our active older adults art program at the community center, which is so exciting. And they're working on art pieces that they are going to present. They're going to have an art gala in, I cannot remember the date. I think it's November or December. So don't quote me on that, but we'll double check on that tomorrow. But our active older adults participants are going to be creating this art and then presenting it to the community. So it's very awesome, and I'm excited to support them and see what they come up with. And then item number 8, award the contract for the Land and Water Conservation Fund conversion to Kimley Horn and Associates with an unbudgeted expense of $69,015. So this is one of the steps that we have to actually take to come to a new land conversion agreement with the National Park Service. So we've been out of compliance with that since May of 2020, and we have steadily been working on getting to where we would be in the position to come up with a new application. We have a state department, the TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. Sorry, I was having to double check myself. That is our liaison to the National Park Service. So they've been working on that with us, figuring out what we have to do to submit an application that is most likely going to be accepted. We have to pay a $10,000 fee to TDEC for that application, but before that, with that application, we have to have site design plans. So that's going to include some site design work on the what we're calling the Hickson property, which is up there, that flat parcel of land in front of B&B Discount, and then next to our fire station number 2. They're going to do some site design work there, and then some site design work for the middle school property. And that's going to come after we actually get the appraisals back, because there are certain appraisals you have to get done for those land, for the parcels for the land conversion. It's called a yellow book appraisal. So that has to be done a certain specific way to be in compliance with the federal government's guidelines. So we're waiting to get those back, and then once we get those back and we know approximately what amount of land or which parcels we're going to have to use for that land conversion, then Kimley Horn is going to do the site design work. And then that's going to be a part of our application to TDEC, and then going over to the National Park Service. I am not sure why this is an unbudgeted expense, because this was something that we were anticipating. Maybe it was because they didn't know exactly how much it was going to cost. We'll talk about that tomorrow at our meeting. But this is a commission goal. It supports a commission goal. We have very much dedicated ourselves and our staff to getting a new agreement in place within this fiscal year. That is something that we are absolutely working toward. And as long as all the bureaucratic pieces line up, then it's going to happen. Because we can't move on the middle school property at all, or even the Hickson parcel, until we know what part those are going to play in the land conversion. Because the land conversion has to be on land that is completely undeveloped. So it can't already be used or activated as like a park space, as a recreation space in your community. So that's why that has kind of been sitting there, both of those parcels, for, a little while now on one, a long while now on the other. But it's because we have to get that new agreement in place, and then we can start making moves on those properties. But the cool thing that goes along with that is once we get that conversion agreement in place, it automatically puts us back in compliance, even if the development isn't done. But that makes us competitive for those federal parks grants, which we are not competitive for right now because we've got that red flag status. So anyway, this is that next step, and I'm very excited about it. And Kimley Horn is the consultant that we worked on with our Parks and Rec master plan, last year. And they were awesome, and they also have somebody on their team who specifically has a high skill set with land conversions. She has worked on many land conversion agreements. So we have some expertise there with Kimley Horn that they're going to be bringing to the table. So we're in very good hands. The next item we have is 2 public hearings. So we have a public hearing on amending our Red Bank Municipal Code to incorporate our Planning Commission ordinances. They were never codified. The ordinances were voted on many, many years ago, like in 2001, 2012, and I think 2021. And there were some amendments made over those periods of time, but it was never actually incorporated into our municipal code. So that's all this is doing. We've already had one vote on it, but we haven't had our public hearing yet. So the public hearing's happening first, and then we'll actually have the vote on it after that. And then the other public hearing is on a rezoning of 2 Goodson Avenue parcels that the city and the public own in our city. They're looking to rezone those from R1 to RTZ, which is that residential townhome zero lot line zoning status. So those two parcels, we already voted on disposing of those. I think it was at our last meeting. You can look up the agenda packet and it will show you the parcels if you want some more information on that if you missed that. But we're voting on rezoning them so that we can put out an RFP and very specifically ask for the type of housing that we know we need in our community and that will help meet the needs of missing housing that our residents are needing. So this is that next step in that process. And then we have a beer board meeting. So we've got Trust for Public Land is applying for a special event beer permit for an event that they're holding at White Oak Park in September, which is now. We're in September. Yikes. And then Clever Ale House is applying for basically their yearly permit to work city-hosted events. So like Food Truck Fridays, the art gala with our active older adults participants. I'm trying to think I think there was something else. But anyway, it's city-hosted events only. They get one permit, and it's good for all of those events so that they don't have to keep returning back to us. And that's it. Any questions? If there's no questions, I'm going to let you guys go. And then if you do think of anything, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow at 5 at our work session and 6 at our regular meeting. Good night.